It was a quiet, rainy afternoon when Yara decided to clean out the drawer where Nico kept his things. She wasn't looking for anything special, just organizing. But then, something slipped out of his wallet and landed on the floor. She picked it up. It was a small, worn-out photo. At first, she didn't think much of it, but when she looked closely, her heart skipped a beat. It wasn't a photo of her. And those two kids, she had never seen them in her life. The woman in the picture was smiling, standing between the children, looking happy. Yara blinked, confused. Maybe it was a client's family, she thought. Maybe an old friend. She let out a nervous laugh and waited for Nico to come home so she could ask him. When he finally walked in, she showed him the photo casually, trying to sound light. "Hey, who's this?" she asked. Nico looked at it, and for a second his face changed. His smile faded. He looked nervous. "That's old, from a long time ago," he said quickly, trying to put the photo away. But Yara wasn't satisfied. She had seen something on the back of the photo, a date, written clearly in black ink, just last year. That wasn't old. That night, when Nico was asleep, Yara couldn't rest. Her mind was racing. Something wasn't right. There was a name written in the corner of the photo, half hidden by Nico's business cards. She gently pulled it out again and stared at it. Then she picked up her phone and typed the name into Google. At first, nothing came up. But then, she found a Facebook profile. Her hands shook. It was the same woman, same face, same children. And in one of the photos, standing beside them at a school event, was Nico. Yara's breath caught in her throat. She dropped her phone and covered her mouth. The room felt like it was spinning. Her husband, the man she'd shared her life with for 12 years, had another family, and not in the past. Right now, a whole life she knew nothing about. She sat there in silence, holding the photo, her tears mixing with the sound of the rain. After that shocking night, Yara couldn't think straight. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was sharp. She knew something big was going on, but she didn't want to rush. She needed proof, real, clear proof. So quietly, she created a private email account that Nico didn't know about. There, she began to collect everything: screenshots of messages, strange transactions on their joint bank account, hotel bookings made under Nico's name. She even found receipts for gifts and flowers she never received. All the evidence pointed in one direction: a life that didn't include her. She noticed payments being sent to a school in a city Nico always claimed he had no reason to visit. But why was he paying school fees there? And why did those payments match the age of the children in the photo? Her hands trembled as she kept digging. Every new detail felt like a knife to her chest, but she kept going. She needed the full truth. Still, she didn't say a word to Nico. Every morning she smiled like nothing was wrong. Every night she cooked dinner and asked about his day. But inside, she was breaking and building a case, quietly, carefully. She knew if she shouted, he'd hide everything. But if she stayed calm, she could catch it all. That's when she remembered her best friend Fari, who worked for an airline. Fari had helped her many times before, but this was different. This time, it was serious. She called her late one night and said, "Fari, I need a big favor. Do you have access to flight passenger lists?" Fari was confused, but trusted her friend. "What's going on?" she asked. Yara replied, "I can't explain yet. Just help me." A few days later, Fari called back. Her voice was quiet. "Yara, you're not going to like this." She sent over a list of flight records. Yara opened the email and felt her heart drop. There it was. Month after month, Nico's name appeared on flights to the same city where the woman from the photo lived. He'd been going there regularly, even on weekends when he told her he was working late or traveling for business. Everything lined up: the school payments, the hotel bookings, the gifts, the flights. He wasn't just hiding something, he was living a second life, a full, secret life. Yara stared at the screen, feeling sick. It wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't one bad decision. It was 12 years of lies, and now she knew everything. But she still wasn't ready to confront him. Not yet, because what she planned next would shake his world completely. Yara knew Nico had another trip coming up, another business meeting in a city he claimed to hate. But this time, she didn't just wait and wonder. She quietly bought her own ticket, picked a seat far from his, and made sure to land before him. Her heart was beating fast, her stomach tight, but her face calm. She didn't cry, she didn't shake. She had seen enough lies. Now she wanted to see the truth with her own eyes. She found a quiet cafe across the street from the address she had saved from the hotel receipts and school documents. She sat near the window, hiding behind sunglasses and a scarf, hands wrapped tightly around a cup of coffee that had gone cold long ago. Minutes felt like hours. Then, finally, she saw him, Nico, stepping out of a taxi, laughing. He was carrying a bouquet of flowers and a gift bag. He looked relaxed, even happy. Yara didn't blink. She watched as a teenage boy ran up to him and hugged him tightly. Nico hugged back like it was the most natural thing in the world. The boy looked just like him, the same smile, the same eyes. Yara's chest tightened. That boy wasn't a stranger. He was Nico's son, not a child from long ago, not someone else's kid. His son, right there, alive and real. Then the woman from the photo appeared. She opened the door and smiled warmly as Nico walked over and kissed her on the forehead, handing her the flowers. They looked like a happy family. Like this was something they did often, not a secret meeting, not something quick and hidden. It was normal for them. He stepped inside, and the door closed behind them. Yara didn't cry. She didn't move. She just sat there, staring at the apartment across the street. Her hands were no longer shaking. Her heart wasn't pounding anymore. She finally understood. All those years she spent wondering what she did wrong, blaming herself for the distance, for the cold moments, for the lies he told. It wasn't her. It had never been her fault. She didn't feel angry, not anymore. The sadness was still there, but something else had taken over. Clarity. She wasn't going to fight for him. She wasn't going to beg or scream or demand answers. She already had them. And now, she was done trying to save something that was never real. Yara stood up slowly, left a tip on the table, and walked away. She didn't look back once, because from that moment on, she wasn't just Nico's wife. She was her own woman, and she had already started choosing herself. Yara didn't argue. She didn't cry. She didn't even call Nico to ask why. She already knew the answer, but she needed something more, something no one could deny. So, without telling a soul, she hired a local photographer from the city where Nico's secret family lived. She kept her request simple and clear. "Pretend you're working on a family documentary," she said over the phone. "Just follow the man in this picture. Capture his life, his real life." The photographer agreed and started immediately. Yara didn't sleep much during those 3 weeks. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart raced. Was it an update? Was it proof? She stayed silent, going about her day, pretending like nothing had changed. But everything had. After 22 days, the photographer sent her a link. "Here is what you asked for," the message said. With shaking hands, Yara clicked it open. Her screen filled with photo after photo. Clear, painful proof. There was Nico sitting proudly at a school play, clapping loudly, cheering on the teenage boy who called him Dad. Another photo showed him holding a balloon, walking through a park with the boy and the woman, the same one from the photo in his wallet. They looked like a family, not in hiding, but living out in the open, laughing, hugging, smiling. There were hospital visits too. One photo showed Nico asleep in a chair beside a hospital bed, holding the hand of that woman. Yara didn't know what had happened, but it was clear he had been there, deeply involved, present. These weren't quick visits or secret moments. This was a second life, a life with love, care, and consistency, a life he chose and protected. Meanwhile, Yara had been left alone, believing the lie of business trips and long work hours. She wasn't just the wife he cheated on, she was the wife he used as a cover. She was the extra, the background character, while he played husband and father somewhere else. It crushed her, but strangely, it also cleared the fog. Now, she didn't have to guess anymore. She stared at the last photo, a birthday party, a small one, a cake, candles, and Nico lighting them while the boy laughed. Yara felt something inside her shift. The man she thought she knew had carefully built a lie, layer by layer, year by year, but he forgot one thing. Secrets can't survive a camera. And now, Yara had everything she needed, not to beg for truth, but to destroy the fake world he had built, with quiet steps, calm hands, and undeniable proof. The game was over, and she was ready to end it on her terms. The night of the gala arrived. It was a big event, something Nico had been talking about for weeks. His tech company was celebrating another successful year, and all the top people would be there. His bosses, co-workers, investors, and their families. Yara was expected to be there too. The perfect wife, dressed well, smiling, standing beside Nico, like everything was fine. But everything was not fine. Yara wore her most elegant dress, not because she wanted to impress anyone, but because she wanted to feel powerful. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, quietly, carefully. While Nico was busy living two lives, Yara was planning how to reveal the truth, not just to him, but to everyone who thought they knew him. The ballroom was full of laughter, lights, and music. People were clinking glasses, giving speeches, celebrating success. Nico was in his element, shaking hands, laughing with his bosses, proud of how far he had come. He didn't notice how calm Yara looked. He didn't know what she was about to do. When it was time for the toast, Nico introduced her. "My beautiful wife, Yara," he said proudly, expecting her to praise him. She walked up slowly, holding the microphone. Everyone watched her, smiling politely. She looked around the room and said, in a calm voice, "Before I give this toast, I want to thank the man who taught me something very important, that truth is more powerful than title." Some people looked confused. Nico's smile faded just a little. Then Yara reached into her clutch and clicked a small button. Behind her, the projector screen lit up. At first, a simple photo appeared. Nico, holding a young boy, smiling at a school event. Then another, Nico with the same woman from the photo in the wallet. Then more. Birthday parties, hospital visits, park days. The room fell silent. The music stopped. The air changed. One by one, the photos showed the secret life Nico had hidden for 12 years. The second family, the other woman, the child he raised in another city. Gasps filled the room. Eyes widened. His co-workers stared. His bosses whispered. Some guests covered their mouths in shock. Nico stood frozen, pale, unable to move or speak. Yara didn't cry. She didn't shout. She simply looked at him and said, "Now the truth is yours too." Then she placed the microphone down and walked off the stage. She didn't look back. She didn't need to, because the lie Nico had built so carefully just came crashing down in front of everyone who once believed in him. And the woman he thought would stay silent, she had just stolen the show. Nico stood frozen in the middle of the ballroom. Everyone was staring at him. No one was smiling anymore. No one clapped. The music had stopped, and all the fake charm in the room disappeared in seconds. His proud expression was gone. His hands hung at his sides, helpless. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His secret wasn't a secret anymore. Not to his wife, and now not to his company either. Then, slowly, Mr. Adetayo, the CEO of the company, stepped down from the podium. He was known for being calm, kind, but also very serious about honesty and respect. He looked straight at Nico, disappointed, not angry, just deeply disappointed. In a quiet voice that cut through the silence, he said, "You said you were a family man. We trusted you to lead with integrity. You've embarrassed this company and yourself." Nico tried to speak again, but before he could say anything, Yara stepped forward. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. She walked up to Mr. Adetayo and handed him a folder. He opened it, slowly flipping through the documents. His face changed with each page. These weren't just photos of Nico's second life. These were flight records, fake hotel invoices, and expense reports Nico had used to get money from the company, money he used to visit his secret family. It wasn't just a husband cheating, it was an employee lying to his bosses, using company funds to cover up his betrayal. It was fraud, and Yara had all the proof. Everyone in the room looked shocked. Some people whispered, others stared at the floor. Nico finally tried to step forward. "Yara, please," he started, his voice shaking, but she didn't even look at him. She simply turned, stepped off the stage, and walked through the crowd, calm, strong, free. The silence behind her was louder than any shouting. Nico stood there, surrounded by people who used to admire him. Now they looked at him like a stranger. The truth wasn't hidden anymore. His double life, his lies, his fake image, all of it was out in the open. And Yara, she didn't stop walking. She didn't need to hear his excuses, because this wasn't just about a broken marriage anymore. It was about exposing a man who fooled everyone. But in the end, he couldn't fool the one woman who finally decided to stop believing him and start believing in herself. 2 days after the gala, a shiny gold envelope arrived at Nico's mother's house. She thought it was a wedding invite or maybe a birthday celebration. But when she opened it, her eyes widened in shock. The card inside read, "You're invited to my freedom celebration." And right beside the message was a bold, beautiful photo of Yara in a stunning red dress, smiling brightly next to a tall cake that had the words written across it in icing, divorced and delivered. It wasn't just a party, it was a statement. Yara didn't hide or cry in silence. She decided to celebrate her freedom. She had spent 12 years living in a lie, carrying pain in her heart, pretending everything was fine. But now she was free, and she wanted the world to know that choosing herself wasn't shameful, it was powerful. The celebration took place in a cozy garden lit with fairy lights and music. There was a live band playing happy songs, guests laughing, dancing, eating, and cheering. People who truly loved and supported Yara showed up in their brightest colors. Her friends, her cousins, even some of Nico's family members came, not for him, but for her. Cameras were set up around the place. Everything was filmed, not for attention, but to share a message many women needed to hear. When Yara stepped forward to give her speech, she didn't read from paper. She spoke from the heart. She said, "To every woman who's been lied to, cheated on, ignored or used, may you find the truth and make it your crown. May you walk away with your head high, not in shame, but in power, because leaving a lie is not weakness, it's strength." The crowd cheered. Some cried. Some stood in silence, just feeling the truth in her words. But the moment didn't end there. That video, her speech, her red dress, the cake, the music, the joy, was posted online. And within hours, it spread like fire. People everywhere were sharing it, tagging friends, sending it in messages. It wasn't just a party anymore. It became a movement. Millions watched the clip. Hundreds of women messaged Yara privately. "Thank you. You gave me courage. I thought I was alone. I'm finally ready to leave." Yara didn't just walk away from a broken marriage. She walked into a new chapter, one where her voice mattered, one where her pain turned into purpose. And the party that started as a personal celebration became a symbol of strength for women around the world. After everything was out in the open, people expected Yara to disappear, to break down, or hide away from the world. But she didn't. She didn't fall apart. She didn't let the pain control her life. Instead, she quietly started rebuilding herself, piece by piece. Every tear she had cried became strength. Every lie she had uncovered became a lesson. She took her story, her heartbreak, and turned it into something powerful. Yara started a podcast, not for fame, not for drama, but for healing. She called it a space for women who had been betrayed, hurt, and left in the dark. She shared her own journey, step by step, in the simplest words, from how she discovered the truth to how she found peace. She invited lawyers, therapists, financial experts, all people who could help other women stand on their own feet after being broken by someone they trusted. Slowly, the podcast grew. Women from different cities, even countries, started listening. They said, "You told my story." Others said, "Because of you, I finally left." Yara didn't just share pain, she shared hope. She became a soft, steady voice in the middle of their storms. People stopped calling her the wife who was cheated on. They started calling her the woman who showed us how to rise. Then, one day, the woman from the photo, the other woman, Nico's secret partner, reached out. She was crying, shaken, and full of guilt. She told Yara she never knew about her. Nico had lied to her too. He told her he was divorced, that Yara had moved on, that they were free to be together. She said, "If I had known, I swear I would have never stayed with him. I'm so sorry." Yara listened quietly. She didn't yell. She didn't blame. She simply said something soft but strong. "Now you know. Choose what I chose. Peace over pretending." That one sentence said everything. Yara wasn't looking for revenge. She didn't want anyone to hurt like she had. She wanted healing. For herself. For the woman. For every person who'd been living a lie without knowing it. What happened to Yara wasn't just a story of betrayal. It became a story of power. Of how a broken heart doesn't have to stay broken. Of how truth, even when painful, can lead to something beautiful. And Yara, once just a name behind a man, became a name women everywhere looked up to. They had once called her his wife, but now they called her their role model. A full year passed. Yara had kept her focus on healing, helping others, and building a new life with quiet strength. She never looked back, never tried to check on Nico, never responded to the messages he had sent in the early days. She had chosen peace, and peace became her new path. Then one afternoon, Yara's phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. When she answered, a calm but familiar voice spoke. It was Mr. Adetayo, Nico's former boss. But he wasn't calling about Nico. He was calling for her. Yara, he said kindly. We've seen the work you've been doing. The podcast, the talks, the support groups. You've turned your pain into something powerful. Then he added, we're launching a wellness program for women in business to help them find balance, strength, and healing while chasing their goals. And we want you to lead it. Yara sat still, stunned for a moment. A year ago, her world had fallen apart. Now, she was being recognized, not because of her past, but because of how she had grown from it. She said yes, not for the spotlight, but because she knew this was another step forward, not just for her, but for every woman who needed to hear, you're not alone. While Yara's life was rising, Nico's was doing the opposite. His secrets had caught up with him. Word had spread. The lies, the double life, the betrayal. It all became too big to hide. Companies didn't want him anymore. He went for interviews, but no one called back. His charm couldn't cover the truth. He was jobless, ashamed, and desperate. He tried to reach Yara again. He sent long messages, emails, even letters through friends. He said he was sorry, that he had made the biggest mistake of his life, that he was ready to start over and make things right. But Yara never replied. She didn't block him. She just didn't answer. Because some endings don't need big fights. Some don't need final words. Sometimes, silence is the only answer needed. Growth speaks louder than any goodbye. Yara didn't need revenge. She had already won by choosing herself. She had found peace, purpose, and a future that had nothing to do with the man who broke her. And now, she was being trusted to guide other women into their strength. Nico became a story she no longer had to tell. Her life had moved on. And every time someone asked her how she got through it, she would simply smile and say, I didn't go back. I went forward. And that made all the difference. Yara now lives in a peaceful town by the sea, far from the noise and hurt of her past. Her days are simple but full. She wakes up to the sound of waves, walks along the shore, and spends hours writing and speaking to women who are learning to heal just like she did. She no longer hides her story. She shares it, not with bitterness, but with strength. People sometimes ask her about Nico, about how she moved on after such a deep betrayal. But Yara never speaks with anger. She just smiles gently and says, he thought I'd break if he left me in the dark. But I wasn't waiting for him to come back and fix me. I was learning how to shine on my own. Her words are soft, but powerful, because her story was never really about him. It was never about getting back at him, or proving something to anyone. It was about letting go of pain, letting go of false love, letting go of everything that once held her down. The turning point wasn't loud. It didn't come with a big fight or public drama. It came quietly, on the day she mailed a simple envelope, filled with the proof of everything Nico had done. She sent it to his workplace, not out of spite, but because the truth needed to be known. And once she dropped that envelope into the mailbox, she didn't feel anger. She didn't feel regret. She felt free. That was the moment she knew. She wasn't his shadow anymore. She had become the sun. And like the sun, she rose every single day. Not for him, not for anyone else, but for herself. Now, when women hear her speak, they don't just see someone who survived heartbreak. They see someone who rebuilt her life with grace and quiet fire. Someone who teaches that healing doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes in the silence of choosing peace over pain, truth over fear, and love, real love, over false promises. Yara's story doesn't end with revenge. It ends with her walking along the beach, head held high, heart wide open. She no longer looks back, because she doesn't need to. Her life is full, her soul is light, and her voice, once silent in someone else's shadow, now shines brighter than ever. She was never waiting for someone to rescue her. She was learning how to rescue herself, and in doing so, she became more than just healed. She became whole. If Yara's journey moved you from betrayal to becoming her own light, imagine how many women are still stuck in someone else's shadow. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder. You don't need revenge to rise. You just need to choose yourself,